Hey guys, this is Alex with Albany. We're ready to start if you guys are ready.
Yeah, the chair is not on yet. So as soon as Ethel Tyers joins, I guess we will begin. So I
Okay.
just ask that we all be patient.
Okay,
Okay.
no worries. Thank you.
No problem.
Just got audio.
We know if something happens.
They're not starting yet.
Okay, well, let me know because I can't.
Uh huh.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming on time. In fact, a little bit early. I hope you all have the agenda. Let's see how many people we have so far. 7. Okay, so just for a heads up, we're looking to add a 4th item possibly towards the end of the meeting, which would be just a show and tell, an advanced presentation on a private ULERP application for the M Crown area. And it would just be a briefing for this evening, and we could invite the applicant back for February. So tonight we have Eastern Athletic Club at 17 Eastern Parkway, 285 Kingston Avenue, and 294 Albany Avenue, and possibly 1034 to 1042 Atlantic Avenue. We're just waiting for a quorum. As you all may know, these meetings are filmed and recorded and posted afterwards on YouTube.
It's posted afterwards on YouTube.
Yes, Mr. Ty. I hope people will use their, open their video so we can see each other. That's part of the purpose of having a video meeting. Otherwise, we might as well be doing this with just a telephone. So we've got 8 people so far. We're going to need, we are going to need 12 people, 13 people for a quorum to do any business this evening. Let me just ask, is the representative for 17 Eastern Parkway on the call at this time? No. Is the representative for 285 Kingston Avenue on the call at this time? No. Okay. Is the representative for 294 Albany Avenue on the call at this time?
Yes, we are here.
Mr. Latovsky. So is your video working?
Yes, it is.
Good.
Just 1 second. And we are live. Hello.
So if you're going to want us to see your presentation, you're going to have to use your camera. Okay. 12. We need 13 people. Okay. So, Mr. Latovsky, there you are. And then the next person up would be an advanced look at a private application for 1034, 1042 Atlantic, which is not on your printed agenda from the community board calendar. This would be an advanced look a preliminary look at a private rezoning request. And the proponent is seeking comments from the community board on offering a community center at 1034, 1042 Atlantic and Pacific. So we're up to 11. And we'll call the roll.
Thanks, Kristen.
See who we have with us this evening. And then we can start. I hope everybody is well and hope everybody had great holidays, Hanukkah, Christmas,
New Year's. Happy New Year's.
Three Kings Day, Kwanzaa, everything.
Everything.
Okay, so. All right, everyone. Okay, we got 12. One more person. And then we call a roll. I don't want to make it a pointless exercise in roll call because we need 13 committee members. For those committee members who are here, I greatly appreciate you coming on time. It makes everything so much easier. I see my Vice Chair, Yrsa Witherspoon.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
And let's see who else in here is here. My other Vice Chair, Mr. James Ellis, has joined us. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Let's see. So we're tiptoeing along here. Okay. So I hope that Ms. Witherspoon got a copy of the roster for the committee. I'm also looking for Ms. Lazar, who's going to be providing us with her secretarial services for the Land Use Committee going forward. And so I'm not seeing her as yet. We have 17 people. Ms. Witherspoon, do you think we should call the roll at this point or wait a little longer?
Meeting and then you go. It's on 6:15 now.
Okay, your volume is very low.
Yeah, no, I had it muted. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do it now if you like.
Okay. All right. I'm here at a distance.
Giles, we need 10 people for quorum.
We need 13 people.
Oh, well, we're not at quorum yet.
Okay. I see 19 attendees, 19 people present. I haven't taken the
I imagine many of them are applicants or
just visited. Yeah.
I know that we've had some new additions to the committee, so I'm not real familiar with all the members at this point, but just making some extrapolations, it looks like we're only about 10 people right now.
Okay. I see our new secretary, Ms. Lazarus, joined us. So that's a good thing. And the fourth item, Representative Ellie Perrienti is here. For the one I was mentioning, fourth item, that'll be on Atlantic Avenue and Pacific, 1034, 1042. Our star critic, Mr. Lee, is not showing yet. So once again, I'm
Carrie Tan, you mind muting yourself? Carrie Tan?
Sorry.
Thank you.
So let's see. Got 20 now. Let's see. I'll check myself and see what we have. I wish this thing would stay in alphabetical order. That would be my last name. That would be so great. But of course, it doesn't happen. Okay.
I know WebEx alphabetizes by first name.
Yes. Okay. I have to learn how to do that mentally.
So right now we have 11 people, so we're waiting on 2 more.
Right. Thank you. So now, because the fourth item won't be put up for a vote tonight, we could start with that. It's
I-
just discussion item.
Ms. Tyus, I would suggest that'd be a great way to start with a limit on the amount of time we allocate towards it, just so we can make sure we hear all the other items without dragging tonight's meeting out too late. So maybe we want
This
to
is-
allocate 10
It's
minutes.
a great idea. I like that. I like it when we agree. Mr. Ellis.
Maybe we allocate 10 minutes to hear from this fourth proposal, just until we can go into action steps.
Okay. Mr. Pariente, are you up for 10 minutes to step through?
So the only thing is, since it's my first time, I mean, most people, my first time presenting on this portal, I'm just trying to find out how to share
Okay.
the presentation.
Oh my, that was fun.
I'm sorry?
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe somebody's unmuted, but
We're going to speak one at a time, okay, folks?
I just.
Can everyone mute themselves, please? Please, everyone mute themselves.
Ms. Tyus, it looks like you're muted as well. It was a mass muting.
Yeah, thank you. I would appreciate it if everyone would turn on their cameras so we can all see each other, please. All right, so now we're working up to a quorum. We're going to take this a moment in time during our meeting while we are waiting for a quorum to be confirmed to hear an item that is a late addition to the agenda. And the item is a private ULURP application presentation, advanced presentation for 1034, 1042 Atlantic Avenue by Ellie Pariente, who I believe is the sole principal. He can correct that if I'm wrong. It would be a 9-story building, R7A on Pacific Street with a community center, and he's here for our input on the community center part of it. The 2 buildings together, I believe, would have 210 dwelling units, 17 stories with an R8 on Atlantic Avenue with a C6, 3A commercial wraparound on Atlantic Avenue. So he'll give us a brief 10-minute walkthrough on this, and I'll hopefully come back in February for a more in-depth presentation and then go from there to the full board. Take it away, Mr. Pariente.
So I'm still going to need some help. I don't know if you know how to share the presentation on
Up
so
at,
that everyone can
up
see
at
it.
the top of on the left-hand side of your screen, third item on the menu is share.
Okay.
You see it?
On the WebEx share.
On the WebEx screen, correct.
Yes, share. Okay.
All right, so you want to share your screen. Mr. Ellis, you have something to add?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so I did reintroduce the fourth item. As Ms. Eslin asked.
Okay, so I'm going.
You can add a camera if you don't start the meeting that way. That's from Peter Crassus. So please, everyone, this is my fourth request to turn on your video. Okay, Pariente is starting his presentation. Mr. Ellie Pariente is presenting.
I'm sorry, just so you know, we're at quorum.
We have a quorum.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to reverse myself. Let's do the 10 minutes and move on.
So Ethel, can you confirm that you can see my screen?
I can't see your screen. I cannot.
You
Mr.
can?
Mr. Pariente, all we're seeing is a white screen, so you might need to advance.
What about now?
No, it's still blank.
Okay.
We're seeing your screen, but it's just showing up as a blank white.
I'm just gonna ask Nick, our architect, if he knows how to do this any better than I do.
Well, you know what? Maybe this is a signal that you should come back in February.
Huh?
Okay, I leave it up to you. I mean, just to explain. I'm sorry.
Nick is trying to start it. Okay, we're seeing some pictures.
Okay, perfect. So I guess it's good to have people on your side. So just to clarify what the intent today, and just to add a little bit to what you were saying, the idea is, we've started ULURP a while ago, a little over a year ago now, or something like that, with city planning on a project down the street from the other one we're building. And the project is at 1034, 1042 Atlantic Avenue. But even though it is currently undergoing environmental review by city planning, since we've decided to give back most of the base of the building as a community center / youth center, I just figured that I would, even though we're not ready to present the project yet, or I mean, we're happy to, but we're not, in the ULURP stage yet. I figured I would ask for the community's board's opinion on the uses on the ground earlier than later. I had some communications previously with Mrs. Combo's office, with the majority leader, about what she would like to see at the base. And since the community is obviously going to be the one benefiting from it, I figured I would get your input sooner than later so that we can implement it into our building. So I guess, Nick, if you want to go to the rendering for the building or for the youth center.
A moment of silence.
Yeah, so, okay, so this is one of the views of the building. So the idea is city planning, as part of the M-Crown rezoning, or as part of, any private rezoning, is asking us to widen the sidewalk on Atlantic Avenue. And this is what this is about. So Nick and I, the architect, and I came up with this concept of an urban plaza to make it just a more lively space. Since the building is nearly 200, I mean, the lot is nearly 200 foot in width, way to just, create some life. I saw a comment from somebody asking to see the whole building first. So Nick, can you, I think, go up one slide? No, I think going down. Sorry. Oh, yeah. There you go.
That was it. Go ahead. Okay. Wow.
So that's the building. At the base of it, where you see the light canopy, is the youth center. And then, Nick, if you zoom in on the youth center from the page below, I think.
Just toggle back and forth here.
Okay, yeah. So basically this is the youth center. The idea that the original idea came up with this idea that I had, that the Nets basketball the basketball team was looking to do a youth training camp for the urban youth, and I just started thinking about ways to sort of like create a real amenity for the neighborhood and the building. And so we started designing it around a basketball court size with double height ceiling, which is why what you see here is, a basketball court starting on the lower level floor with double height ceiling up to the ground floor, with additional rooms for youth programs. So the reason why I'm reaching out now, just to clarify, is because we have different concepts that we've been exploring. Since the site goes from Atlantic Avenue to Pacific Street, we have the ability to we have about 15,000 square feet of space that we're giving back for this, community space. And I just wanted to present it and, see if there's any feedback. I'm happy to go into the zoning or into the building itself. But like I said, we're still early in the process. But if you have any questions about the zoning itself, I'm happy to address it.
What's the FAR?
Was the what?
FAR.
the FAR.
Yeah.
So it's on the Pacific Street side is R7A, so it's 4.6. And then on the Atlantic Avenue side, I believe it's the C63A is about 8.2, right, Nick?
8.5.
8.5, sorry.
Wow. Okay.
And this is, I mean, just obviously this was based on city planning's recommendation in line with the vision from the M Crown rezoning. So we didn't come up with a requested zoning by itself, obviously.
So just a little background on what city planning was recommending. They see that all these avenues coming off of Prospect Park, Eastern Parkway, and Atlantic Avenue were planned originally as these very large, Houseman style like boulevards. There's central medians, that are meant to be hosting trees, and these are very, very beefy thoroughfares, connecting like major parts of the city. So they are, roads that are meant to be the center of activity. So with this M Crown area, it's something that we've all been looking at, for years now. It's underutilized. It's this X manufacturing. So I think the rationale for city planning was that it's something that could support more bulk. It's something which is very, very centrally located. You're between these two neighborhoods, and when we were looking at this originally, the comparables that we saw included 72nd Street over by Broadway, and then Broadway itself. So this is something I think where there's a vision for future development connecting Eastern New York and downtown Brooklyn. So this is where this book comes from. So
Thank you, Nick. What are the two cross streets?
It's between Classen Avenue and Grand Avenue.
Yep.
It's, I mean, the cubicle to the left of it is Classen.
Okay.
The Cube Smart to the left of it is, that's, yeah.
Yeah, we've been anticipating this type of interest from developers. I still don't agree with this being in line with the M Crown vision, but we can explore that more in February. We did say that this would be a brief introductory taste of what you're proposing. Is this the same building with the aqua farming in it?
Aqua farm. I think you were talking about the urban farm.
Yeah, the urban farming. Yeah, so that's something that after this entire pandemic thing, this has fallen by the wayside because each of these urban farms has seen that there's a lot more demand than they had even anticipated from the get-go. So the size of the sites that they're looking for now are, at least 2 or 3 times this big, and we just can't support that use with what they need now.
Okay. So we've got 2 minutes to go on the 10 minutes we talked about before we
just to clarify, the idea, I mean, the purpose of this quick presentation is really to talk about the youth center. We'll be happy to discuss, at the ULURP or next meeting or whenever, the rationale behind the zoning. But again, it was suggested by city. This is part of. I mean, this is a discussion with city planning. City planning has been the one suggesting the bulk and the density. So I feel like maybe next time we have a discussion about it, city planning can put their input into why they've asked for, certain things. The purpose of today's meeting really, as a favor, was to ask for the neighborhoods, whatever the density ends up being, even if it's whatever it is, was to get some kind of feedback on what the community would like to see as an amenity for the neighborhood, right? So the idea is that if I'm not offering, but if I'm offering to do a community facility type of thing of about 15,000 square feet at the base, what is it that the community thinks is needed, right? So one of the option was youth program. So I know that the council member was looking for a space a few months ago to house a non-for-profit after-school program. So that's one of the things we've studied. We have the training camp, the basketball camp, sports center for the youth, which also again run by a nonprofit. That was another option. We've had a museum. There's obviously a museum for children already, but we had come up with this concept that they're doing in the Bronx, the Museum of Hip Hop. This was another idea. So I just figured I would ask early in the process if a developer was to give back 15,000 square feet amenity at the base of the building, what is the most needed amenity that the community thinks, they would benefit from? And that's basically the question I'm asking.
Well, this is good. It's a good question. I'm sure we can nail it down. Would you be able to come back in February so we can make sure that your item, your project is a calendar item on the agenda?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm happy to come back anytime.
I don't know if you'd be ready for us to vote on it at that time or not.
No, I don't. I mean, we're not ready for a vote yet. I don't think we're really. Because the way it's been happening before the pandemic, when we were meeting in person, I'd like to get feedback and include as a respectful thing. I like to include the community board into some of the planning so that I don't
no unpleasant surprises.
Exactly.
I respect the way you've worked with us in the past. One of the things I'd want to say before we close out on this item is that you'll probably get a good reception if you're saying that there won't be any fees and it would be open to the public to the extent that the public fits into one of the three paradigms you've laid out: the training camp, a community center, or a hip hop museum. And it's not just for the residents of the building. So with
just to clarify, from a legal standpoint, I don't want to, the way we would do it most likely is give it to a non-for-profit, is like lease it to a non-for-profit, organization that manages these type of things, right? So for instance, if we end up deciding on a youth center, we would lease it to a non-for-profit youth center that would then run it for the, that they know what they're doing. Like I don't have the, I certainly don't claim to know how to run a youth center. The idea is to find one of those companies, and there are some, and then lease it, at a community facilities, nominal rate, and then they would be the one operating it.
So this would fit under the community benefits agreement paradigm we've used in the past. And at this point, I have to turn it over to Ms. Weatherspoon to monitor the chat, and we'll have 5 more minutes for questions. Yes. Then we have to move on to our agenda. Ms. Weatherspoon.
Sure. We have 2 questions so far. So first is Daphne, and then Deborah Young.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry, I was just having trouble unmuting. I was just wondering because there was discussion about how these boulevards are meant to be these grand boulevards with medians, and I was wondering, are there corresponding plans as part of M-Crown to address all the issues on the street? So for example, to create medians and plant medians, to put in a dedicated bus lane or a bike lane, expand sidewalks, things like that. So I realize that the developer is probably not the person to ask, but if people know whether part of that is, part of this whole rezoning would involve street changes, it seems like the DOT ought to be part of the whole process and the discussion, because otherwise it's impossible to even imagine what the impact would be if Atlantic Avenue is the same way it is now.
So I can give a limited answer based on my knowledge, and then maybe Nick, the architect, can weigh in a little bit further. What I do know is that city planning has requesting us to widen the sidewalk by, is it 12 feet, Nick? Is it 10 or 12 feet? I don't remember.
8 feet. So we're going to 20 feet.
So I do know that we're widening the sidewalk as per DCP's request. I would assume that it would be done in coordination with DOT. But that's about as much as I know about it. I also know about the trees planting, that we have to plant trees, and we also took upon ourselves to build this little seating area, but that's separate from any other requirements. Nick, do you anything to add to the question?
Yeah, sure. So we have to do the 20-foot sidewalk, like you said. We'll be doing street tree planting on our side of the sidewalk. We've gone to great pains to link this youth center to the street in a way, kind of creating this outdoor urban room. So we've even it gets pushed in even more. So right in front of the youth center, it's about 28 feet deep. So it's like a nice like meaty piece of public plaza there. And DOT, I know this is anecdotal. But I know from other projects, they're having problems sticking to timelines that they've set for themselves. They had a very widespread agenda for this area in the past few years, and if it's like anything else, like what we're seeing on other projects, they're going to be delayed just because there's not a lot of public funding. So we're not sure. That's something that we can look into, and if you like, we could come back with a more clear answer next month.
Thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Witherspoon?
Okay, I think I was next. Okay, I have a question. I guess my question is more to the community board. If we're being asked to provide some input about what we think we need, I want to know how we're going to cascade that out beyond just the land use committee so that we could get some input from the community at large in preparation for the next meeting. So I guess that goes to you, Ethel.
Yes, well, we use the website on the community board's website, the calendar there to invite people who are not members to attend these public meetings. And as I said earlier at the beginning of the meeting, the videos from the prior meetings are all posted. We publish minutes, and we do outreach through those minutes to invite the general public to attend these meetings. So if people give us their physical addresses, we send mail. If we have their email addresses, we add them to the notification list. And for those interested residents and business owners, we have the website where they can come and just link into the meetings as we're doing now.
Okay, I don't think that that's my question. Let me try to reframe it. If we're asking specifically for input from the community board members, it seems to me we want to put that out to them, asking them, here's an opportunity to provide some information about what you would like to see or what you think the community needs. That's a specific request. Yeah, I know how we advertise. I know how we promote our meetings, but this seems to be a little more specific so that people might say, oh, I have an idea. I'd like to either come to the meeting or I'd like to share it with the land use community for consideration.
Okay, so I think I hear you asking for us to do a special mailing. Is that your request?
No.
Okay, then my answer would pretty much remain the same. I believe that city planning also has a website where they advertise or at least list applications that come in and have a preliminary description of them available to the public that they can look at. While I'm on that, just a second, I'm sorry. Ellie, can you please send us this presentation so we have it for February, or send us an update for February?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I'm sorry, Ms. Young, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay, when you asked me about a specific mailing, I really wasn't clear about what you were asking. So I think I need to retract that no and say, yes, I guess I am suggesting that a specific mailing, with this being an opportunity for the community to weigh in on, might be a something to consider.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
I do believe, and I'm not sure if Ms. Neal is on the line at the moment, that the minutes of the full board meeting are mailed to everyone. It's over 1,000 people on the community board mailing list. So if we include in those minutes a statement that this is includes an invitation to join us for a date certain presentation on this item. That may do the trick, but you can let us know how you suggest we be a little more engaging. Okay?
Okay, Ms. Tyus,
Yes.
James, I know the time is winding down.
Yes, has wound up.
Mr. Ellis has a comment, and I just also want to thank Gib for all the information that he has provided in the chat.
Mr. Ellis?
Yep, that dang mute button. So yeah, some of the stuff I was going to mention in my comments were kind of covered by Gibbs stuff, but certainly want to reinforce the reminder to our board members and committee members that our goal with the M-Crown zone was job creation, right? And so ground uses and any variances and any additional building and FAR bonuses were about job creation. And I think that was the concept that we were really trying to hold to and trying to avoid spot rezoning, such as something like this. However, I mean, we can't deny what might be a great community benefit in having a community center, but as long as it's not classified as a community facility, which then can turn into some sort of medical facility or something like that as well. I mean, a community youth center is certainly something that would be, in my opinion, much more warranted and welcomed into the district rather than another medical or doctor's facility that typically, or daycare centers, which might also be needed, but which typically kind of gets lumped into these community facilities for the extra money.
So I have an answer for you, if I may, James.
Mr. Variante, let me just finish a couple of my comments, and maybe you can wrap them all up together, just for the sake of time. So just reminding that our committee members that job creation was a goal.
You're breaking up.
I'm sorry. I wanted to.
I'm afraid we're going to have to move on from.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
All right. I just wanted to remind our committee that job creation was a goal of the M-Crown, and this area has been asked to be included in the M-Crown by DCE. The other thing that I want to mention is that I want to be very careful not to recreate a situation that happened on 4th Avenue with the street wall with rezoning and large-scale buildings and no vitality on the streetscape at the sidewalk level of these buildings, Atlantic Avenue side being one of them. That street is not very welcoming for pedestrians. It seems like it might be counterintuitive to be attracting youth and families from that side of the building. And so I question how in design the integration of the street wall, street face, and sidewalk interactions would make for a better, more hospitable environment, especially with Atlantic Avenue being a major thoroughfare for through our district or along our boundaries.
That's a great point, and we spent much time thinking about it. And you actually enter from both sides, so we have like very substantial entrances from both sides.
Right.
So Nick, can I give a quick answer? So first, James, I'm going to answer. If I understand, you had two questions, right? To my understanding of the first question was, it's a very good point that you don't want this to become just a community facility which has different uses. And we do have a mechanism which has worked for us with the community board in the past, which is this community board's community benefits agreement, which we signed on my previous project in neighborhood, where I have agreed to put in a restrictive declaration on the property, binding me to only rent space to certain uses. So this is, I don't know if you followed it, but basically in order to implement the M-Crown retail use limitations to a portion of our building on Grand and Pacific, the community board and I negotiated a restrictive declaration, and the community benefits agreement.
I was a party to some of those conversations, so I recall that.
So basically, the idea here is that we will most likely be doing the same thing, where instead of just designating the space as a community facility, which allows me to do other things in the future, we would do another community benefits agreement and another restrictive declaration binding me to only lease the space to those, uses that we agree on, which is why it's so important for us to know what is the ideal type of tenants that the community wants to see, so that the community benefits agreement that we end up negotiating down the line represents really what the community wants. And if it turns out that the community doesn't want a community center and they'd rather have a more M-Crown type of use, then that's part of the conversation. I naively assumed, and I might have been wrong on this, that most of the community would want to see a community center because, usually it's a huge give back, or it's a huge, it's a huge give back by a developer, right? It's like the best thing a developer can give. And again, I came up with it without anybody requesting it. I'm very involved in the neighborhood. I'm building down the street. We want to build something, significant here. And I thought that the community center would be a great way to revive that part of Atlantic. So just to address the second question, about the revitalization of that Atlantic Avenue and the fact that it's not that inviting is exactly the thing that Nick and I were struggling with in the spring and summer, because of that exact point, that right now it really doesn't look that inviting. So if you go back, if you see on the main rendering, the light canopy that you see here, the whole intent was, we did this huge graffiti on the front of the building that goes up even to the second floor. And with this light canopy, it's supposed to be visible from at least 2-3 blocks away. So between that, with the lighting installation, the sidewalk widening, and then the urban furniture, I'm hoping that it would at least do my part, that it would do our part to create, to bring life to that block. And that's basically the whole purpose of that urban plaza, is to indeed make it more inviting.
Yeah, I guess I'm just intrigued on how you're going to achieve that goal, with Atlantic Avenue being just the kind of the conditions that it is, and how are you going to kind of,
well, to be fair, this is
how are you going to negate the negative?
It's tough. That's every question. I think there's only so much that you could do, so we are trying to work with what we have. One of the main things that we do is that extra depth. So that extra depth kind of gives you on this opportunity to kind of cleave closer to the building and to get away from the traffic, but you really can't get away from all the traffic. So that's why the main entrance is actually back on Pacific. So we have a much nicer, much more placid streetscape back there. There's another image that shows what's going on in the back there. Let me just get to it. Oops.
Can you maybe just outline a little bit?
At the bottom of that page, you see the garage doors.
Yeah.
There's a way to stay a little bit true to the industrial vibe.
Is that the Atlantic side or Pacific side?
That's the Pacific side. At the bottom.
I'd really like to address the Atlantic side at this point.
So the Atlantic side is the other one that we were showing. That's the.
And I think also one of the concerns I have about creating a space like this that's supposed to be welcoming to youth, especially if access is to be available from the Atlantic side, is the negotiation of cars and traffic for either visitors or people visit. Where is the cars coming in? You're proposing 17 stories of residential above it. I imagine there's going to be I see some parking allocations in some of the renderings. How does that interact with the same space, and where are the buffers for youth and community use and the access of cars, and how does that integrate into each other?
Okay, so per DCP's direction, we're not having any kind of ingress from cars off of the avenue. There's too much traffic there. They don't want to see cars coming on and off. So we have this nice big. This is the property line, right? So we have another 20 feet sidewalk over here, and we have this nice big space over here. So there aren't any cars that we have to contend with coming off of Atlantic. Off of Pacific, we placed the car entry past the entry to the community facility. So you can see the entry to the community facility here. They come in off of here. It's anticipated that there's going to be some sort of breakout rooms, maybe some sort of back of house office space, and then you enter down into the community facility proper down here. So we do provide parking, but we have applied for a full parking waiver. So that's what we're going to seek. So right now we are showing parking, but this is something that we're flexible with. If we do get the green light for the full waiver, then I think that could become part of the conversation with how the space is allotted for this facility.
Yeah, and just to jump on that again, I don't want to give you too much detail on what. There's a lot of thoughts that go into this planning, but the reason why it's really helpful to know the type of uses that is going to be preferred is that it allows us to extend the size of the community facility or not, And that's the reason why we're not doing that much parking in the basement, is that we needed it for the double height space. So there's a lot of, I mean, you know, there's a lot of thoughts that go into it, and it would take a long time to explain the rationale. But the idea right now, again, just to summarize, is that there's three main goals to this community center. One is to revitalize that block, right? Like create an amenity that the neighborhood can. The second point is to create an amenity that the direct community can benefit from, and third is sort of like, you know, without sounding cheesy, be a team player and give back something to the community that is, you know, that is a good private public collaboration type of thing.
Yeah, we think it's necessary here because you like this is the first mover. Yeah, sure.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I just want to remind Ms. Tyus that there's a lot of time spent on this project. Although we appreciate the information, it's a lot. Is it time to move on, Ms. Tyus? Can we move? Hello?
I think she dropped off the call quite some time ago.
She did.
Yeah, I dropped off, but now I'm back. And we started it at 6:24. It is now 6:54. So we've done way more than the 10 minutes, 15 minutes that we had anticipated. We do have 3 items to vote on during the remaining time for this meeting. So this is really great. I want to remind everyone that Mr. Pariente has been very, very communicative and seeking support from us as a community board for his developments in M-Crown, as DCP has given us a pause period while we wait, according to them, for a new mayor. So I'm inviting Mr. Pariente back to give us a more fulsome description of his proposal at our February meeting, or we may want to go back to the format we used before, where we had a special meeting just for projects in M-Crown. And I would defer to Mr. Vicconi over the next week or so to take a close look at that, since these deliberations and commentary and think about it, it takes more time than we have when we have an items to vote on. So thank you very much, Mr. Pariente.
Thank you. Sorry to have taken so much time.
No apologies needed. This is a great entry. I would ask Ms. Weatherspoon to let us know who's next up on our agenda. And you can
Next
take.
up is.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. 17 Eastern Parkway.
Okay.
Good evening, members of the board and interested parties. My name is John Overland. I'm with Klein Sloat PLLC, and I represent the applicant, Eastern Athletic Corporation. One of the principals of the corporation is with me tonight, Mr. David Sefaraza. Very briefly, this is an application. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mr. Overland. I want to get the screen onto your project at this point.
Okay.
So that means that Mr. Pariente is not sharing his screen anymore. And Mr. Overland, I hope you have materials you can share.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not that competent with this, but I'm going to try.
Okay.
Let me see if I can get this going. I guess we can start. Let me see if I can get started with the photographs. Can everybody see the photographs, please?
No, you have a black screen at this point. You want to go to upper left-hand menu line on WebEx and hit share.
Okay. Upper left-hand or upper right?
Upper left-hand. Mr. Latovsky, I think your project is up, and we're not looking at your project right now. We're looking at 17 Eastern Parkway. Mr. Latovsky, we are not sharing your screen at the moment.
I don't see anything at the top left. I see a share button at the bottom that I'm trying to use.
Okay. Well, you might have a Mac, I'm not sure. Mr. Latovsky, we're not sharing your screen at the moment. Thank you. So as I understand the materials that were distributed by the office for 17 Eastern Parkway, this is a renewal of a 10-year special permit.
That is correct. I sincerely apologize. I sent the documents via a Dropbox. I'm seeing my photographs up. I don't know if they're showing on the share screen.
No, they're not, as far as I can see. And if people have their invitation from the community board office, that Dropbox has the pictures and the documents in it.
That will probably work as well. Let me see if I can get it. I don't want to lose y'all, but let me see if I can get my Dropbox open. While I'm working on this, as you stated, this is an application to the Board of Standards and Appeals for an extension of the term of the variance and special permit permitting the operation of a fitness center that's being operated at the 1st, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th and 11th floors of the building. And in general, this is a fitness center that's been operating for 34 years. There was a first resolution approved in May 1987 that approved the variance to permit the establishment and operation of the fitness center within this building. Each one of these resolutions was limited to a 10-year term. That resolution, there was a second resolution in 1997, which was approved in November, which extended the term to another 10-year term. And that term expired in May 2017. I'm sorry, correction. That term expired in May 2007. So a third resolution, application for resolution, was commenced, and that was granted in 2010, May 2010, and that expired in May 2017. I sincerely apologize. I do not really want to keep everybody hanging on this. Let me see if I can get my Dropbox going. Now, there's no activity that goes on outside the building. All the activities go on within the building. Very briefly, the building itself is not residential. It houses a temple, school. There's an additional school at the 5th floor. And other than that, the operation of the building consists of the fitness center. I'm almost there. I sincerely apologize about my lack of technical expertise on the sharing. Does everybody have a copy of the Dropbox?
I do.
Does anybody need one? Let me see if I'm.
Can you paste it in the chat?
Let me see if I can. I sincerely apologize. I don't know what's going on with this, and now I'm down to a minimal screen on.
I just put the address for the Dropbox folder in the chat. Has anybody tried opening that link? I don't know if that helps.
Yes, it works. This is Kathy. I opened the link and it works fine.
Awesome. Thank you. If you want to go to the photographs, they should be in the Dropbox. They should be in the 1, 2, 3, third row and the third document online. and this will show you the photographs, the map of the general layout. There is a diagram at the top depicting the site off Eastern Parkway in Underhill, off Underhill Avenue. The second document after that is a depiction of the front of the building itself at the North Service Road of Eastern Parkway. The second paragraph is a view of the street, and to the left, a depiction of the site entrance.
On Grand Army Plaza.
Yes, ma'am. Off the service road, off of Parkway, Eastern Parkway, and the service road.
Okay.
Now, if we go to the plans, and those would be at.
Excuse me, I'm sorry,
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Overland.
Please.
Is it possible that you can tell us the page number so we can follow you a little easier?
It is. Let me see if I can. I'm trying to find. I'm also navigating on the Dropbox.
Okay.
Now, if
We
I'm
can
looking at
refer
the
by
Dropbox
number.
with all, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The document number, if you could do that, because they're all numbered. So if you could help
Okay.
us that way.
There is a document 8. It's on the second row, and it's the third document over with the plans. In the first floor, the first page of the plans. Let me see if I can get the plan number on here.
The site plan document number is 8, it seems like.
Right, it's document number 8. I'm gonna have to resort to something else. I apologize.
So while he's doing that sorting out, I feel that I need to disclose that I am a member of Eastern Athletic Club.
Okay, if you have the document number 8 open, there is a document marked BSA-1, which depicts the first floor. And the first floor consists of the reception area, the lounge, and the elevator. Now, at this point, as of right now, the entrance to the fitness center itself, it continues to be at the main entrance of the building, where you see that part of the plans at the bottom marked lot 6. There's an opening there. As of right now, due to some litigation between the building owner and a developer of another part of the property, that particular portion has not been leased to Eastern Athletic yet, but that is the intended operation, and that should be transferred to Eastern Athletic upon completion of litigation. I understand the litigation is being settled or otherwise concluded. But as of right now, they're entering through that part where you see the lot 6 at the bottom and the word awning. And as of right now, they're sharing a single elevator. If you go to the second page that's marked BSA-2, that depicts the swimming pool, the men's locker rooms. There's a physical therapy center as well, and lockers, and the steam room. Now, all this, as is common with most of the gyms that are in the city, the restrooms, the locker rooms, and the steam rooms are all located together. You should be familiar with that kind of layout. If you're not, I can explain it to you. There's also shower facilities within there as well. Now, on the 7th floor, which is depicted on the page marked BSA-3, there's a similar setup for the female members of the gym, including the steam room, sauna, showers, restrooms. There's also a cardio center located therein and a lounge. The cardio center would feature things such as ellipticals, things of that nature. The 8th floor, BSA4, is a multi-purpose fitness center used by all members. The 9th floor of BSA5 is an exercise room, and there's going to be a new fitness mezzanine that's going to be constructed therein. We haven't finished the construction on that yet. On the 10th floor is a cardio fitness center and a group conditioning center. The group conditioning center is for like fitness classes. The classic example would be the aerobics classes and things of that nature, exercise classes, things like that. And the 11th floor is the extended elevator bulkhead and hoistway. As of right now, the only construction that we look at, and David, if you would jump in and let me know, the only kind of construction that we look at to do is to finish the intended new mezzanine at the 9th floor. There's a stairway extension from the 7th and 8th floors that needs to be completed, and there's also supposed to be alterations to the proposed cardio center at the 7th floor. There is no outdoor construction contemplated in connection with this application. We're merely asking the community board's approval of this. It's a gymnasium it's a fitness center that's been in service to the community for 34 years. The swimming pool during the summer offers swimming classes to the children in the community. David, are there fees for the swimming classes for the children, or no fees?
There are fees.
Okay, there are fees?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we do, I apologize for that. I wasn't quite clear if there were fees or not, but they do open classes for children in the community for swimming lessons. They've been in place for 34 years. It's a fitness center that's used by members of all the community. I'll take your questions.
Would you care to share some more details on the nature of the litigation?
Unfortunately, I'm not privy to that. As I understand it, there's two lots. Let me hold on just 1 minute, please. Since the 1987 variance, at the time, I'm sorry, let me start over. At the time of the 1987 variance, the property was known as a single lot, and it included the lot. If you go to the first page of the plans, you'll see block 1172, lot 12, formerly part of lot 6. It is this lot 12 that is being leased or transferred to the developer. I am not privy to the nature of the litigation. I can try to find out and get back with the committee.
John, I can give some background information.
That'd be great. Thank you.
The Union Temple sold off the lot to the developer next door, who put in the Richard Meyer building on Plaza Street East and Eastern Parkway. As part of that development, they were supposed to build an extension for new elevators for the temple building, as well as new entrance for the temple and for the sports club. And they were supposed to turn it over with a temporary certificate of occupancy, which they never did. They built the property in 2007, I believe, it was completed. So it's been 13 years we've been waiting to get this new access through the new entrance, but it is about to be completed. From what we understand, the temple is getting sign-offs on the elevators, on the new elevators, and once that's done, they will turn over the new ground floor entrance and the elevators to us, so the access to the club will be greatly improved compared to what it is right now. And that should be within months.
Ms. Weatherspoon, back to you to manage this.
Yes. There are a couple of questions, James, and then Elaine. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Weatherspoon, and thank you for the presentation. This has been a longstanding facility in the community, and obviously it's what I understand, we're just looking to kind of approve this physical culture permit is what I'm understanding that we're here today for. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So it's only for the physical culture permit?
Only for the physical cultural permit.
So, unfortunately, you've gotten approved over the years, but a couple of issues I feel like that we could address. I think in one of the things in the files you've recognized, you've shared with us that the building has received over 50 DOB violations.
Yeah.
Like that, I mean, some of those have been remedied, some of those were dismissed, some of those were whatever the other option was. But that seems like a small cause for alarm over the cause of time. Secondly, as one of our other neighbors and community members mentioned, you guys, this facility is also hosting a live music venue in the ground floor that's never, ever presented itself to the community as an alteration of use in this building. And it also, I mean, as the chair of the liquor license committee for this community board, no one's ever come to us for permitting to have alcoholic service in that establishment, which I know for a fact that is happening. And so I'm just concerned if we're not aware of these circumstances, what else are we not aware of?
Those circumstances are the Union Temple. We have nothing to do with that. As the physical culture establishment, we're not on those floors, and we have nothing to do with them renting out their space.
So I'm to understand you guys are a tenant in the building then?
Yes. We're a long-term tenant.
And if I can
under the Union Temple?
The Union Temple is below us. We're on the upper floors.
Right, but your Board of Standards and Appeals, that's coming from the Union Temple of Brooklyn, 17 Eastern Parkway, So that's why I'm confused as to how you can separate the two identities. Are the parties the same but two different identities?
Union Temple is the owner of the building. And we are the tenant, Eastern Athletic Inc.
Okay, but I'll refer you to the application, the BZ application form, which is document number 1 in the Dropbox. If you look at the right-hand side, it says applicant, owner of record or operator, Union Temple of Brooklyn. That is the form.
Right.
So that's telling me that it's not Union Temple, that it's you guys, but yet the forms that you're filing, the paperwork that you're filing with the city says Union Temple of Brooklyn, which is then also the operator of the Murmur Theater.
I understand your concern about the application, but you also mentioned. Let me just kind of briefly talk about the DOB violations. Of those violations,
John, let's clear up this one issue.
Okay.
Who is the applicant? Is it Union Temple or is it us?
Talk about we are the applicant, but the application form itself asks for the
owner
it says
of record.
owner, and then the owner of the
I'll also
building.
add on that application, you've listed, right, you've also listed the community board 7, council district 8, council member Ayala. All that information is not correct.
Right. We'll submit a corrected one. I'll happily do that.
So can you clarify then Union Temple is the applicant, or is it Eastern Athletic Incorporated?
It's Eastern Athletic.
Well, it says the lessee underneath. It says Union Temple is the owner of record, and the lessee is Eastern Athletic Inc.
Yeah, there are a lot of, I agree with Mr. Ellis, there are a lot of conflations of the data on the form. That should be corrected, especially regarding the site data. The community board is listed as 17 and the council district is listed as 8, et cetera, et cetera. So going back to who's the owner and who's the lessee contract vendee, that should be corrected definitely. So we'll look forward to
That is correct. Union Temple of Brooklyn is the owner, and the lessee is Eastern Athletic Inc. That is correct.
Okay, let me, I'm sorry, Mr. Ellis. I'm sorry, Mr. Ellis. The line is owner of record or operator. So Mr. Ellis is correct.
I'll correct it and send a corrected application form. That's fine.
Can I ask? I guess Mr. David about are these two separate entities of the same people? Is the Union Temple and Eastern Athletic the same people under operating?
No. We are a lessee, a long-term lessee. We took out a lease in 1987 for 40 years.
Okay, and what's your relationship to the operators of the live music venue?
No relationship at all.
What is Union Temple's relationship to the live music venue?
I don't know. Has nothing to do with us.
I understand. I don't want to get too bogged into it if it's not your oversight, but I want to make sure that we understand how it's working.
Yeah, my belief is that they have a space in their building that was for weddings and so forth for temple congregants that they have turned into a venue to rent to outsiders. But that's not under our control.
I certainly understand, and it's not my intention to muddy the waters with this, but it does seem a little interesting that the owner of the building is not also present as part of a Board of Standards and Appeal application for their property. That seems to be a little bit of a disconnect for me, but I'll defer the rest of my time to the committee.
Well, I appreciate that, but I want to talk about, you mentioned the DOB violations. Of the violations you observed, there are 2 that actually apply to EAC, and both of those concern the expiration of the current permit. And once, assuming the application to the BSA is successful, those would be clear. There are 2. I'm trying to find the violation numbers now. But of the violations you observed, and that's a good point. There are 2 that relate to the fitness center, and those 2 involve the expiration of the permit. So once this is approved, that'll clear that up.
A vast majority of the other ones have to do with those elevators that I was talking about. There's like 20 or 30 violations on the elevators. And that's for not having a 5-year test, a 3-year test, a 1-year test. But they haven't been turned over to us, so we have no control over that.
I'm sorry, Ms. Weatherspoon, but the last time EAC came to Community Board 8 was the same thing with the same problem with the elevators. So that is definitely a safety issue. And it's remarkable that it has continued for this.
These are brand new elevators that haven't even been put into service. They're getting violations for the brand new elevators.
Wow.
So it's not because they're dangerous elevators. They're just haven't been put into service, so they haven't had the testing done, and that's what they're trying to clear up right now before they turn them over to us. We will be receiving 2 brand new elevators, which will make a world of difference for entrance into the club.
Okay, so we're having some difficulties here trying to work with you to get this squared away. Is there any way you could come back in February with representatives from Union Temple with you that could help with explaining what the heck is going on here?
We can ask them to, but they are not the they are not the health club. We are the health club. It's our lease that we're looking to extend. As far as them and their other uses of the building, that's not why we're here. But if you want to talk to the temple about their use of their performance venue, that's fine, but that's not part of our application at all.
So you're looking to extend your lease, and to do that, you need approval from BSA for.
No, we have our lease is ongoing. The issue is every 10 years, the city makes fitness centers, gyms, renew a physical culture establishment license, which is a special license, which the intent of that was originally to not allow massage parlors to come in and say that they were gyms, because that was a problem in the city at one point, where they would open up these massage parlors, call them a gym, and this was a way to stop that from happening. They would look at who the applicant was, they would do background checks and so forth.
That's correct.
And that's what this is. This is a 10-year extension of the term.
Is your term current?
No, it's not. It expired 2017.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Ms. Tyus. Does that lapse of it and permit mean that you guys haven't operated the fitness center for 3 years?
No, that's not. That what it is a lapse in the permit that we've been trying to get this. I don't know how long we've been working on this, for over a year now, but it's just as we've requested and been granted I don't know what the proper term is, John.
What usually happens in this circumstances is the BSA, once they approve the permit, will discount the 10-year period by the amount of time it operated without a permit. For example, if another permit is granted, they'll say it expired. This is for a 10-year term, but it'll expire like if it's granted this month, it will expire 7 years hence to take into consideration the 3 years it operated without a permit. If that answers the question.
Yes, it does for me. I guess my biggest flag, though, is just the misrepresentation on the application, saying that Eden Temple is the applicant or the lead applicant. And if that's the case, then I think it would be, it's incumbent upon us to ask them to have representation here. They, as discussed in the chat, they are the beneficiary of this variance by having a long-term leasee like yourselves. And so if that's kind of where I'm stuck. I don't want to be a thorn in the side of something that's been operational for over 20 plus years. But I think we owe it to our community to vet and dive in and understand what's actually happened behind the doors of this establishment.
I
Mr.
understand. I can get an amended application. I can get the amended application to the board tomorrow.
Sounds good.
I'm sorry?
Sounds good. That sounds appropriate.
Thank you. If that will work, I'll get that to you tomorrow.
Mr. Ellis?
I mean, I'm willing to make my decision based on my perspective. It's up to the committees if they're going to vote through on that with that information being corrected and updated.
Ms. Weatherspoon? Are we seeing things in the chat we need to bring out?
No, it's just a lot of conversation. There are no questions.
Okay, so I do have to recall that we only see Eastern Athletic Club after the permit has expired for some time. And I'm just wondering why that is a regular thing.
Well, it's a 10-year term, and unfortunately, I missed the date. There's no excuse for it. It was, it was not on the calendar, and I didn't realize it until we got a violation.
Wow. Okay, so the elevators are safe, and I see one or two questions in the chat. Ms. Weatherspoon, do we need to deal with those?
Apparently, Allison feels that she has to talk in capital letters. So please, could you please have your question known? Thank you.
Okay, I see a question in the chat. Were you denied a DOB permit in September? And if so, how are you still operating?
That's a requirement to be allowed to file for a BSA. You have to get a denial. So they required us to go to the building department and ask for a denial, and that's what we did. That's part of the permitting process.
How Byzantine. So denial from DOB is required in order to go to BSA.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay, are there other questions before we ask for a motion from the floor?
Yes, Skip has a question.
I do have a question. I just want to make sure. I mean, I know we've heard that the application may have some errors in it, but it does say that Union Temple is the applicant and Mr. Overland is the applicant's representative. Is that not so?
I'm not a representative of Union Temple. I'm a representative for Eastern Athletic. The application.
So you're not an attorney for Union Temple.
That is correct. I'm the attorney for Eastern Athletic.
Isn't correct in that respect.
That's correct. I will forward an amended application tomorrow.
Okay. I mean, I guess I just want to echo some of the comments that were made about Union Temple being represented in this application. We get lots of applications from lots of different folks, and here certainly Union Temple as the landlord has an interest in seeing this variance be approved, and they should be here as a party to the application.
Well, we'll see what it says on the updated application tomorrow. We're working here with the committee for land use for the community district, and we make as a committee recommendations to the full board, which will meet next Thursday. So the unanswered questions will definitely give the full board pause when the full board looks at the recommendations coming from this land use committee. So we would look forward to whatever decision is made tonight that would go forward to the full board for next Thursday to have an answer that would get the response you want from the full board. So one of the final questions I would have to ask is what is your target date for a BSA hearing? Is there one scheduled at this time?
There is no BSA hearing scheduled at this time. We're at the notice of comments phase where the case manager for BSA submits their comments to our application and we respond. I will, of course, forward a copy of our response to notice of comments to the board. But as of right now, there is no hearing scheduled with BSA.
Okay, thank you. All right, so it seems like we've gotten a lot of answers and we're looking for a corrected application form that would explicate who the applicant is, owner, operator, lessee. There are 3 divisions there that would be clarified on the amended form that we would expect to come to the CBA office tomorrow. So with all of this before you, committee members, I ask for a motion on this item, which is seeking to recertify as a not athletic club. What is the term? Oh, Jesus.
Physical culture.
PCE, physical culture establishment.
Thank you. So in seeking to certify, I believe I'm hearing that the elevators work. They have a valid certificate of occupancy. Please correct me when I get off the track. Correct me if I'm wrong. Elevators are working. There's a valid certificate of occupancy. We are anticipating a corrected application form as a condition for any motion that comes forward this evening. Is there anything else we need to point out before we get a motion from the floor?
I would, if I may, I would just like to ask if the applicants are willing to appear at a land. Usually, I don't like to see stuff get tabled and moved to future land use meetings, but it does seem like a representative from Union Temple should be part of this discussion. Are the applicants willing to appear at next month's land use committee with a representative from Union Temple?
We'll have to discuss with the Union Temple if they'll allow someone to come. I would think they would.
Okay, in that case, I'd like to move that we table this item until February, pending the appearance of a representative from Union Temple, and notify the Board of Standards and Appeals accordingly.
This is James Ellison. I will second that motion.
Well, then we'll call the roll. I would ask Secretary Lazar to call the roll.
I think it's Irsa Weatherspoon calling the roll. Sarah's doing the minutes, or has that changed?
Oh, I mean, I've been taking notes. I'm new at this, so
okay.
Whatever I'm supposed to do, I'll do it.
Once again, we'll go to our keystone person. Ms. Weatherspoon, please call the roll on the motion to table until first Thursday in February.
Okay.
Where applicant would reappear with a representative from Union Temple and a.
Can I make a comment on the motion?
May I finish the motion and then? Okay, the motion that Mr. Vicconi put on the floor and it was seconded by Mr. Ellis is to table to February when a representative from Union Temple can appear. And you, Mr. Puka, you're proposing an amendment?
No, I just wanted a discussion of the motion. Okay, so what happens next month? Well, two things. First of all, the applicant hasn't agreed to come back next month. I didn't hear them say they're willing to do that. And number two, what happens if the Union Temple, if we table it and Union Temple refuses to show up next month? Then what do we do? And what does Eastern Athletics do? That's my comments and my questions.
If I may respond to Mr. Puka, I think that becomes the onus is on committee members to make a decision with the information presented. I think the request is to have Union Temple there as a property owner that's also a property owner that has a number of violations against their building. And I think they should have they should be here to address it. If they don't, the committee members can make a decision based on the applicant's presentation of information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I just want to take a minute because I didn't hear any affirmative responses to my questions. There is a valid certificate of occupancy at the moment. Mr. Oakland?
The C of O is has not been approved for the addition yet. That's the new elevators and the new entrance.
Which currently exist and are being used, correct?
They are not being used, no.
So how do people get up to the
existing elevator, which is on the southeast corner of the building?
Remember, if I could jump in and help, remember when we were discussing the plans, the BSA one, I mentioned that the entrance in the elevator, in the single elevator.
Okay, so once again, I'm looking for a yes or no answer. Is there a valid certificate of occupancy or not?
For the space that is being used, yes.
Okay. Okay. And then
I just want to remind the chair we have a motion open and seconded.
I'm just clarifying for people what they're voting on. We're moving to February for a representative from Union Temple, the owner, to be present. And at that time, we should have the correct information on the BSA application form. Correct? We have a second by you, Mr. Ellis. We had questions from Mr. Puka, and I never got an answer to my question on the certificate of occupancy that was clear until now. So thank you very much. And I ask Ms. Weatherspoon again to go ahead with the.
I'd like to comment on the motion though, before we move on, Ms. Tyus.
A comment or a question?
Well, I guess a comment question / question. I understood your language just now. You added in something to the motion about the application being resubmitted, but I didn't hear that in the original motion.
That was an offer that Mr. Overland made.
I know that, but the original motion that Mr. Vacconi made did not mention that. So are you adding that in?
I hear you. Yeah, I don't think it needs to be added, but I'll defer to Mr. Vacconi.
My motion is to table, which means that we are simply putting this aside for this meeting, and we'll take it up again next meeting. So the application technically does not need to be resubmitted. I'm just asking for an appearance by someone from the Union Temple.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Okay, well then I would ask for a friendly amendment that would coincide with Mr. Overland's offer to correct the BSA application form as to who the applicant is, who the owner is, and who the operator is. Do you accept that, Mr. Vacconi, and do you accept that, Mr. Ellis?
Sure, I accept that.
Thank you. Ms. Weatherspoon, would you please call the roll?
I too will accept that.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis.
Princess Ben James?
Yes. Are we voting? Yes.
Robert.
Table this is the first Thursday in February.
Okay. Robert Callahan?
Yes.
Janet Collins?
Yes.
James Ellis?
Yes.
Lee Granville? Johnny Granville?
Yes.
Kathy Island?
Yes.
Cecilia Jordan?
Yes.
Peter Crashes?
Yes.
Sarah Lazor?
Yes.
Robert Puka? Robert Puka?
Yes.
Thank you. Ethel Tyus?
Yes.
Vacconi?
Yes.
Irsa, yes. Elaine Weinstein?
Yes.
Deborah Young?
Yes.
Thank you. We have 15 in favor. The motion passes to table.
Okay, so we would see you the first Thursday in February, which is February 4th. Mr. Overland and Mr. Safaraza.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We look forward to getting the revised form as well, the corrected form, the amended form.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Okay, so
And the board, thank you.
you're welcome. Next item.
285 Kingston.
This is for the demolition of an existing building there in the Crown Heights North Historic District.
Are the parties here?
So, Ms. Young, would you like to speak to this item in the absence of a representative?
Well, we didn't receive any drawings or anything with any specific plans. What we know is that they want to demolish the existing building. And our recall is that some years ago, they had plans to do a museum. And we believe that they have intentionally allowed the building to deteriorate. So, and our position has been to vehemently deny demolition of the building. We don't have any additional information. I don't believe that the owner or the project manager submitted any plans. Is that accurate, Ethel?
I believe not. I believe it was accurate. We didn't get any paperwork.
We didn't get anything. All we know is that they want to tear down the building.
So at this point, we'll note that there's no appearance by a representative. And we will let LPC know that the Crown Heights North Association does not support the plan to demolish it. It is a contributing building in the Crown Heights North Historic District, and that's the letter that would go out. I believe the office has a copy on file. So moving on to the next and last item on our agenda.
Hello, Ethel.
Yes.
Should we make a motion?
That what? There's no appearance. I don't believe there's a need to vote if we haven't heard the item. We're simply notifying LPC that nobody came.
I mean, is there a timeline for receiving this permit?
I'm sorry?
They filed for demolition and they have to come through us and we don't respond. Does that mean they'll get their permit without our response, even if they don't show up?
We will be sending a letter to LPC notifying them that no one appeared and to direct, I guess this is the missing part, to direct the applicant to come to the community board.
Or can we not just make a motion to be much more clear, concise and say we are not supporting this due to failure to appear?
Oh, yes. Okay, we can do that. Absolutely.
And that way we get a recorded vote, and then that way the letter can reflect our starting point, which is not accepting this at this point.
For the recommendation from the Crown Heights North Association that the application not be approved.
That's not the motion that I'm making, but if you're going to you want to devise your own motion, then go right ahead.
I'm in agreement with James' motion. In fact, since nobody's actually moved it yet, maybe I will. I would like to move that we withhold support for this application for non-appearance by the applicant.
I second that.
I second. Oh, okay.
You got a bunch of seconds.
Okay, doesn't matter. Just for the record, also, we did send, Crown Heights North did send the letter stating our opposition to LPC.
Yes, I thought I had mentioned that at the beginning because I have it.
You might have.
Yeah, I have it here. And that was the whole premise of saying we would notify LPC that there was no appearance. The local historic preservation group, Crown Heights North Association, denied, is not in support, et cetera, et cetera. So this is 285 Kingston Avenue. And Mr. Ellis, you were the first to suggest that we have a formal motion. Do you want to recite it?
I think I just made it and it was seconded.
Okay, I believe Mr. Ellis was the initial motion maker. Am I correct?
No. My decision was a suggestion, and then you added to it, and then I said you go ahead and make the motion. Then Mr. Vicconi decided to make the motion.
Okay, so we have. Go ahead, give your standard.
My motion is I moved that the community board withhold support for the application based on non-appearance by the applicant.
Okay, sounds familiar.
Okay. And I believe I heard it seconded, but I'm not sure by whom.
I'll second.
Few people seconded.
Yeah, Earsa Weatherspoon seconded.
Hey.
Jamie Collins seconded. Debbie Young seconded.
You got a third, fourth.
May I ask a question? Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
I have no problems with the motion. I totally support it, but I have a question. While we don't want the building torn down, we wanted to know what they are proposing for the piece of property, and we have no information about what their plans are whatsoever. So I don't know if that's something that we should somehow put into our the community board letter to LPC, or we should remain silent on that, or is it a non-issue?
No, to add that to the letter.
I think
That's the question.
I mean, I think that the motion kind of speaks for itself. I mean,
Okay.
we have no information because no applicant appeared. And the community, I don't think LPC can proceed without having the applicant appear before the community board. So
Okay.
if this doesn't get the applicant in front of us, I'm not sure what will. And the applicant can't go to the Landmarks Commission without stopping here first.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to be clear on it. I'm fine with that. Thank you, Gib.
Okay, Ms. Weatherspoon, do you want to call the roll on this?
Sure. Princess Ben James? Robert Callahan?
Yes.
Janet Collins?
Yes.
James Ellis?
Yes.
Dejani Granville?
Yes.
Kathy Iceland?
Everyone, please mute themselves. Who else is speaking? Go ahead.
Kathy Iceland?
Yes.
Zima Jordan?
Yes.
Peter Crashes?
Yes.
Thank you. Sarah Lazor?
Yes.
Okay. Robert Puka?
Yes.
Ethel Tyus?
Yes.
Gib Baconi?
Yes.
Irsa, yes. Elaine?
Yes.
Deborah Young?
Yes.
Thank you so much. So we have 15 yeses and the motion carries.
Thank you. Our next and last item.
294 Albany.
And that is for a exterior renovation to the primary facade, a restoration, replace a door, replace a window in the surrounding brick mold, and a small rear yard deck on an existing one-story extension. Do we have a representative with us to present on this?
Hello, I'm here.
290.
Hello.
Hello.
Unfortunately, Alex already left us. It's too late, and I'll try to represent it.
What's your name?
Mariam.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Marianne.
Mariam, yes.
Okay.
And your last name, please?
Last name?
Kapanadze, Skapanadze.
Can you put it in the chat?
Sure.
Okay. So I believe you presented on this item the last time.
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Kapanade. Kapanade. Miriam.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Please proceed.
I'm sorry. I think you're looking at wrong plans because plans we sent you last time, it was Monday, I guess. There was not any front facade details and no deck. It was just window replacement by door. And I guess you sent us like approval today. We got some email from Deborah that there is no objections on proposed plans. Am I correct?
Yes, Crown Heights North supported the plans for 294. We didn't have any objections to their proposal.
Yes.
They're going to replace the door, which we were okay with, and with a more appropriate transom. Let me see, they were going to do some painting and ironwork, replacing the walkways and the stairs, but we didn't have any objections to what they were proposing to do.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have any additional materials you want to share with the community board committee?
No, actually, that was the only thing we needed approval from community board.
Okay. Are there any questions on 294 Albany Avenue?
Ethel, there were they sent some drawings, but I'm not so sure that they're clear on what they're doing. I don't think that the drawings was anything different than what they sent before. So I think they're not really familiar with our process and what's supposed to happen and who they should be communicating with.
Okay. Ms. Weatherspoon, do we have any other questions that we need to attend to?
Yes, Sarah has a question.
Oh, yeah. Hi. Ms. Caponade, so what you have there is, I believe it was a statement from the Crown Heights North Association saying that they approve of the plan, but that's an evaluation that's just separate from what the community board land use committee does. So normally somebody in your position would show the documents that I believe are in the Dropbox link that was sent around. But yeah, usually you would do a presentation to all of us of what is contained within that slideshow. So, some people on this committee belong to the Crown Heights North Association, but not everybody does. Like I'm not a member of the Crown Heights North Association, so I don't know. Are you prepared to do a sort of run through of what the different things are that you're trying to ask for our approval for?
We don't have any different things. It's exactly what it was from beginning. I just provided, as per your comment from last meeting, you wanted to see some block footprint, pictures of neighborhood, how their rear facade looks like, and only these details I added in this application, and I submitted again what I wanted to show to you.
Is it possible for you to get Mr. Latovsky on the phone?
Mr. Lotovsky? Sure.
Yes.
1 second.
While she's doing that, if you remember, they do, well, I know he had plans because remember they put them up when we weren't ready for them, if you remember.
They want to talk to you. Do you have chance? On community board meetings, they want to talk to you by phone. Do you have any chance?
I can't hear nothing. I can't hear anything. Text me.
They want to.
Have my hand raised.
Is that Mr. Puka? Who was that speaking?
Yes.
Please. Hey, Mr. Puka.
I don't know about everybody else, but it's getting kind of late here. I'm going to make a motion based upon the fact that the Crown Heights North Association supports this. And this is the second time they're coming before the committee. And I remember looking over the documents last time. So I'm willing to make a motion just on the basis of it's 8 o'clock. And do we have any more votes after this?
No, no other items, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah. I mean, I'm willing to make a motion and vote on this based upon the Crown Heights North recommendation.
Is there a second?
Before we even second a motion, I think we need to have an overview so we can be refreshed about what it is that they're presenting. I think that's important at this point.
Okay, Ms. Just a minute, Ms. Collins, thank you. You're right. Ms. Campanati, can you put a link to your presentation in the chat?
Ethel, if I may, there was an email sent out, and I'm not so sure who was on it, with a lot of attachments that Alexander sent out. I don't know. I was looking for it. I don't know if I could put it in the chat and it could be opened. But I do remember them sending, but
it's in the chat right now.
Oh, it's in the chat now? Oh, okay. Oh, she was able to put it in. Okay. Thank you.
I think it's important that somebody though review it, from her team or herself, and make a presentation, just to refresh us.
We're supposed to, I'm not, with all due respect, we're supposed to review documents in the Dropbox before.
Yeah, I did that already.
So then if we did it already, if you have any questions, I'm willing, you should ask your questions, with all due respect.
Looking for questions.
I'm making a motion that we support this project based upon the Crown Heights North Association's recommendation.
I heard you the first time. Is there a second for Mr. Puka's motion to support based on the Crown Heights North recommendation to approve?
I will second it. I mean, I'm looking at the plans, and the front door seems like the main thing that gets it to a COA, and I don't see any problem with the front door. The work in the back won't be visible from the street, as far as I can tell.
The work in the back is visible on the east-west street, if memory serves. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Young.
I'm sorry.
I'm looking at it on Google Maps, and it doesn't look to me like it would be visible.
No, it's not.
Sarah, you have a question?
Yeah. So, I mean, because we're not really getting a presentation this night, I'm thinking back to how this went last time. And, I think one major reason that people were thrown off, besides the fact that the presentation didn't really have any information in it, was the fact that, it seemed like there were doors put in the back without any sort of, they were sort of asking for forgiveness for something that they had already done. So anyway, I guess I was wondering if maybe Young could talk about, could explain what brought the Crown Heights North Association to decide that this, to give approval, about maybe the most important factors.
Well, the factors that we looked at was the door, which was a key part, the plans that they had for the sidewalk on the front. And I don't believe that it came up about the back, any work to the back. I don't know that had come before us.
Yes,
So
it did. I remember it.
I'll say, and I don't
remember
remember.
it.
Okay.
Okay, the pictures, the work to be done on the back is in the plans A-005.00. And you really can't see the ground floor from the street for the work that they're doing there. But the other part of the recollection is correct, and it's in DOB's records that they got started without the necessary approvals. And what we're seeing from the up close pictures is that it was sort of not well, couldn't be finished because of the lack of the required permits. So that is all in the material that was in the Dropbox provided by the board office. So we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Puka to support based on the Crown Heights North Association support letter that has gone to LPC as of January 4th, copied to the community board. We have a second from Mr. Vacconi on that. And if there are other questions, we'll take those now before we take a vote.
Yes, I have one. I'm looking at my notes from last time, and it said the reason why we tabled this is because we couldn't get a presentation at that time, and we wanted to table it to this month so we could get a presentation. So here we are again without a presentation. I don't understand that. How can, the reason why we tabled it? Because the presentation last time was confusing, and just like Sarah said, the door was there was a door placed in without permission. So here we are again without a presentation.
Well, we have a motion on the floor. I understand your concerns, Ms. Collins. Are there any other comments before we call the roll?
Peter, did you have something to say? Did you want to make a comment? I know you.
Sure, I can just say, I was just typing something. I think, and then this, I could be misremembering, but I think, number one, I think that the rear door, as Sarah mentioned, was put in, and we were last time specifically directed to look at the rear, and I don't think the front was shown to us. And I think that the rear is visible from the side street because it's on the second floor, not on the first floor, and there's only one, I'm not positive. That's what I think that there was a photo of the second floor visible, of that door visible from the street. So that's why I think we were being asked to review, but I'm not clear because I think, as it was said, we didn't get a presentation last time. Wasn't clear what we were being asked to review, and it's not clear what we're being asked to review this time either.
Well, I think for Crown Heights North, when it was looked at by the team, the rear view did not come into discussion, and for that I do apologize. But what I stated was the things that the group focused on, and I think and I'm not trying to defend the presenters. I know they were on the call from the very beginning. I wish that he had sent a note to the chat asking what time he was going to come on before he left, because he did post his plans, and I think he was prepared. Actually, he was prepared before we even got started, because I was on the call early with him. And I don't say any of that to say that we should proceed with taking a vote without getting a presentation. I just wanted to put that out here, that the Alexander was on the call and did have the designs, and it's unfortunate that the person that he left is not able to present as we would like.
Sorry, but if you're looking at wrong set, which you sent in chat, and I opened this link, it was old plans. After that, we submitted the new set, and you confirmed receipt, and this is completely different, because in latest submission we didn't reflect nothing about front and no window replacements or brick molds. It's exactly about this sliding door, and I can share screen and show what we're gonna do if you wanted to do. I think you have wrong plans. We sent it Monday. Do you want me to share my screen and show my plans?
Okay. If you could do that, that would be great, Miriam.
Of course, I can do.
Point of information, isn't there a motion on the floor that we need to deal with before that? I mean,
There can be questions while there's a motion on the floor.
what about a presentation? She's making a presentation, is that
I'm going to allow it.
okay?
The parts of this the most important part of this application is this sliding door. Here we have all of picture how it was before, this window, how they have now, for what we need your approval, and how it looks like from the street, from different sides of street. This small corner is visible. How to zoom in?
So it's not really visible. Thank you, Miriam. Go ahead.
Just a question. Did you extend the deck?
It is existing deck. Deck you mean, or extension?
Extension. Did you extend the deck in the back?
Deck? No, we didn't. It's just like this.
Okay.
This is the latest picture from side. So this is the proposed elevation, what we're gonna do here with this sliding door, this small portion of deck which we're gonna install with railing, and all of these door details, and the pictures as per our last meeting. We wanted to see neighborhood, how their extension looks like. And the sample map footprint of block.
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay, so going back to the window, the picture you're showing now, or the sliding door, the picture you were showing a second ago with the yes, stay here for a second. The picture second from the left, it shows the previous the picture all the way at the left shows the previous condition, and then the second picture shows the current sliding window in place.
Yes.
Now, what is your plan? What's going to happen to the rest of the rear wall? I mean, it looks like that there's some new cement work that's around that sliding window, but it's not going to be left like that, I would think. What are they going to do with the rest of the wall? Is it all going to be painted again? Is it going to be stuccoed? What will happen there?
Of course, they're gonna paint it, and we have here existing brick to be restored, and this detail, like arch detail, will be provided here.
Okay, so you're going to build an arch, a brick arch, over the sliding door, and then paint the rear wall.
Yes, we're gonna paint it.
Okay. I mean, if looking where you see that slight piece of door that's visible in that picture, the one that has the box drawn around it there, a big part of the reason that that's visible is because you're seeing the cement that hasn't been painted yet. I mean, once that's all painted with the back of the house, it's really not going to have very much of an impact from the street, I don't believe. So the back of the house will all be painted white again?
Beige as the front facade.
It'll be painted beige like the front facade. So
Yes.
all right, so the whole back will be one color.
Sure.
And all right, so the color might be a question for me. I mean, the house next to it's painted gray. You know, I guess it really doesn't. I guess it really doesn't matter. I don't have a strong view of it. But if it's all painted, I don't think there's much visual impact from that sliding door.
That's the color exactly which landmark examiners sent us as recommendation.
Okay, so seeing this, I can't say that I have a problem with. Personally, I don't have a problem with that rear window.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, I would say that Mr. Puka's motion to support the application and Mr. Vacconi's second stands, and we should vote on it. And I ask Ms. Weatherspoon to call a roll.
Sure. Princess Ben James,
Yes.
Robert Callahan,
Yes.
Janet Collins,
No.
okay, James Ellis, James, Hey Granville,
Abstain.
Kathy Iceland, Kathy,
Yes.
great. Jazima Jordan, okay, Peter Crashes,
Yes.
Tyler Zor,
Yes.
okay, Robert Puka,
Yes.
okay, Ethel Tyus,
Yes.
Ib Baconi,
Yes.
here's a yes. Elaine Weinstein, thank you. Deborah Young,
Yes.
great, thank you. So we have 13 yeses, 1 no, and 1 abstention. The motion passes.
Thank you all for coming this evening.
Before we go, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you very
Yes,
much.
let me remind the applicant, the
Okay.
full board meeting is next Thursday. Please be present to answer any additional questions. You're not being asked to represent, you just want to be present in case the full board has any additional questions. So that's for next Thursday, the 14th. And the link will be on the board's calendar on the board's website, meetings. Okay.
Okay. Kathy Iceland has a question on new business.
Yes.
They're the late hours, so I'll try and make this quick. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I find that I feel a little bit at a disadvantage in evaluating something like Mr. Parente's proposal. I mean, I know it wasn't officially a proposal this evening, but this is his second building he's proposing to develop in the M Crown district, or what was the M Crown district, along with the new McDonald's proposal. Much time and effort by most of you, I'm new to the committee, was put into developing the M Crown principles. And now we're being asked to evaluate individual proposals. And I feel like it would be really useful if, as a land use committee, we had some small discussion, not tonight, or some discussion about whether or not we're still committed to those principles. Daphne Avatar brought up the conditions of the streets, and Gabe noted in the chat that if we're not doing an M-Crown type project, we won't get the engagement from DOT and all those people. I just think it would be helpful for the land use committee to have an understanding of how we should evaluate, or how principles that we could be aware of, and to hold the developer's feet to the fire absent an M-Crown project, because those principles clearly were important. And now we can only address them with the developer sitting on a call with us. I feel very much like our feet are to the fire, and it would be good for, as a land use committee, for us to evaluate those principles again and what we can do to hold to them if we are going to be reviewing independent applications. Thank you very much. And I understand we do not have to discuss that tonight, but I think it's something very important to discuss going forward.
Ms. Islin, I agree with you 100%. I think that we need to revert back to our M-Crown meetings, which were generally like the 3rd or 4th week of the month. We're being snowed by city planning.
I agree. I agree.
Their excuse is that they can't get it through under this administration, which to me is a load, something I need to hold my nose over. But this is what's happening to us now. The only way to get around it is for letters and phone calls and enough pushback to the mayor's office to cut the nonsense. So I would have to ask Mr. Vacconi if he feels the same way, and if he feels we should revert back to separate M-Crown committee meetings.
I just think that given the scope of what we might discuss, given the current situation, it would be more effective to have a separate meeting, to have like an M-Crown meeting. I think I agree with, I share Kathy's concern about the current situation. I think it's important that it be fully discussed and that we have enough of an opportunity to have that discussion with everybody who's interested in it. And I'd like to suggest that we go ahead and schedule an M-Crown meeting, which is obviously open to the Land Use Committee and also the M-Crown stakeholder group.
Can I depend on you to pick a date?
Yes, I'll work with the district office on that.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Gib, I'm sorry, Gib, you have a quick, a brief update you wanted to give?
I just, if we have a second, I just wanted to provide the committee with a quick update on an application we heard last month for 97 St. Mark's Avenue. Those of you who, so we voted to recommend support based on the presentation, although
please mute yourselves.
Somebody needs to mute.
Although the mock-up that the applicant had constructed, they had told us blew over, so it wasn't visible from the street. We went, some of the folks from the Landmarks Committee at PHNDC went to look at it after it was put back in place. We felt that it was actually pretty visible from St. Mark's, and mentioned that at the general meeting, the CBA general meeting, together with some other concerns we had. I guess the applicants were in attendance at that meeting, and based on the discussion at the general, they revised their plans and submitted to us, to PHNDC, a revised set of plans for that project that addressed all of our objections, including the size of the bulkhead, which now, based on their current mock-up, is really just very, very barely visible from St. Mark's. So we plan to testify with no objection to the application when it comes up on Tuesday of next week. They reduced the size of the bulkhead. They took away the stacked condensers, so they're not as bulky up there. They agreed to paint what was left of the bulkhead gray, and they agreed to change out the glass rail to a metal black painted rail. So they were actually responsive to all of the concerns that were addressed. So as I said, I think now it's our plan to testify with no objection. So I just wanted to give the committee an update. So applicants do listen to these things, so it's good.
That's very, very good. That's activism at its best, and I appreciate you sharing that with the committee. So unless we stand up, we will be roadkill in these kinds of actions by real estate investors or just plain old property owners who are going to live there and they want to max out on the property that they have. Two things before we go. The January 4th Borough Board meeting recommended that the city planning get an approval from the city council to help people who are victims of storms and whatever, where they lose part of their property and they need to, and their income is 30% of the. Let me just start over. I'm sorry. We're looking at a proposal from the Borough Board for city planning to support its coastal flood resiliency text amendment by supporting damaged homes where the household income would take 30% of the household income to repair the property. And so we're looking at having the city step in and offer real estate tax abatements in cases like that, where the income is within the limits that we normally look at, 250% of the area median income as a household earning, then they would be eligible for these exemptions to rebuild their property. Second update is we're looking at next month a certification for 991 St. John's Place. We'll have 1 day to respond based on the ULURP application for 991 St. John's to do a small change to the property at the old St. Gregory School. So that's going to be a quickie. We'll get them in next land use committee meeting in February. And let's see if there's anything else. Is there anything else we need to anticipate for our next meeting or in between now and our next meeting? No. Okay. So I am prepared to close the meeting if I get a motion to do that.
I move that we close the meeting. I move that we adjourn.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
You're
you.
supposed to say anything about that joint meeting with HPD?
HPD, thank you. I think that's scheduled for the 19th, and that should get on the calendar. There's a bit of a standard ops of putting stuff on the calendar no more than 7 days in advance. I'm trying to get that extended, but that's what you're seeing, a 7-day advance window. So thank you for reminding me, Ms. Granville. This is a second follow-up meeting for the HPD RFP for the proposed senior housing at Bergen and Dean. That's another meeting coming up. And we have a date with DCP to follow up on the M-Crown. I think the next one is capital planning. I want to zero in on that date. So when you see those emails come across, please put them on your calendar because they may not show up on the board calendar for a few days after that. Okay?
Okay.
Anything else we're missing?
Not that I remember.
Then I'm closing the meeting and thanking you all for coming and wishing you all to stay well and see you next week at the full board meeting, follow up on what we've seen tonight and the other things that are happening to us and around us. Thank you all. And good night.
Good night. Good night.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Good night.
Bye.